Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. And thank you so much for joining this session. And thanks to Purna for hosting it. I'll add other team members on the screen now. And this is a good way to get connected with all of you again. And we are so excited. We would be starting BeSA session soon also. So it serves as a good dry run for us also that all our streaming equipment working fine and we can still connect to you. So let me add Prasad also to stage. Hey Prasad, hi Farna. Good to hear you all here. So we would keep it as a question answer session, and obviously we would be happy to answer questions for you. And we have extremely supportive guests for us who have been helping us from long time, and she has been here before too. And what a great connection to make with on LinkedIn. So let me add Holly also to the screen. Hi Holly.
Good morning. Good evening,
Good
actually.
Hey,
Exactly.
hey, Holly, lovely to see you here.
You
And
guys as
just
well.
to for people to know
All
that
right, so
Holly is joining in early morning, I believe. It's what 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. Holly?
4 a.m.
4 a.m. Ah, that is the best time to
forever.
sleep, I would say. That is the best time to sleep.
Sleep is just overrated.
Exactly. So thanks for being here again, and it's just really nice to talk to you always. You bring me so much perspective, so much different information, and so much information about the updates happening in the market. Because we are technical people, and sometimes we just get sidelined with the technology and so much happening. But yeah, knowing the perspective that what job market is, what is currently people are going through, what challenges they are facing, it's always good to know. So we'll keep it question answer session. Parna, over to you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Ashish, Prasad, and Holly. Like one of the best mentors here we have for you. So make good use of this time. I hope all the women are ready with your questions, and we are ready to come back to you with answers. So I'll be looking at
We'll
the chat,
quickly do
and
something, Parna. Like
yeah,
people may be
yeah.
joining us first time, so a quick round
Okay,
of introduction would be really helpful.
sure.
So let me start with the women's first, obviously. So let's start with you, Holly. It's Women's Day, just we
Yes,
celebrated. So let's start with you and Parna, and then me and Prasad would talk about ourselves. Over to you,
sure.
Holly.
Did you say over to you, Holly?
Yes.
The
Yes.
coffee hasn't kicked in yet. Just give me a moment here. Second cup. Well, hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. As you all know, I'm a big fan of you guys, the BESA program. I was mentioning in the last year, I think it's been a while since we've hung out together. That being an Amazonian, you really don't have time for anything else. But you guys wrote a book, right? Woo!
Yeah.
Yes. You not only did you write a book, but you're still running the BESA program. So that's very impressive for me. And anytime when I see an opportunity where we can help not just women, but people in general uh, into wanting to work for companies such as AWS, which is right now funny that you talk about the market. It's still very, very hot, and that's why I'm here. Thank you for inviting me. For those of you who don't know me and we're just meeting, my name is Holly. I was an ex Amazonian for 7 years. I did build international team for Heartline's Kindle as well as Alexa services. But for the most recent 5 years, I am a leadership coach. I help those who are really struggling in their career journey into landing position. In this case, I was nominated to be the Amazon coach.
Nice.
Amazing.
And Holly, you run a YouTube channel also where you do a lot of mentoring and other career guidance. So we would put that link into the chat also, so that somebody who wants to follow you, they should have a easy access to the link. So I'll put the link in the chat, and then obviously we should be able to put it on the comment section also so that everyone gets benefited from it. I'll show it here. Thank you.
Excellent.
Great,
Thank
great,
you.
great.
Thank
And
you.
I'll
Thank
add
you.
the her
Amazon
LinkedIn
leadership
as well.
principle. Sorry, go ahead, Parna.
Yeah, so I'll add Holly's LinkedIn as well. So if you all want to get
Yeah,
connected with her later on, also you can get connected. Yeah, Prasad, go on.
No, I was just saying, Holly, the recent Amazon leadership principle series that you are running, it's amazing. Thank you so much for doing it. It's
Oh, I'm
absolutely
so glad the
fantastic.
Amazonian thinks so. I feel like I've been a
yeah.
little rusty. It's been a while, quite a few years for me.
Nice, great. Parna, do you want to start your introduction?
Yeah, so hi everyone. So yeah, I am the lifelong member of BeSA right from the beginning, and it's so wonderful that I'm still here with the founders, the original founders. I'm grateful to Ashish and Prasad that I'm here today on the other side, and it's lovely to be back here and helping all of you. And we can bring in wonderful guests like Holly, who are always ready to help at 4 a.m. as well. So please put in your questions. You all know me. I'm a technical trainer at AWS, and in my part time, I like to help out women and cloud enthusiasts. So just like BESA, there are some other programs as well where I help out. And connect with me if you ever need any help. And let's get started with our session. So I'm looking for questions. So you can put in your questions, and anything related to career growth or interviews or upskilling certifications. So go ahead, put in your questions. All men are welcome as well. I can see Pavan's here, Jaideep's here. So no bias at all. Everybody's welcome here. All right. So I think
Ashish,
people
do
are
you want to
thinking about the
introduce
question.
yourself?
Yeah, I'll quickly introduce myself. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining the session. My name is Ashish. I'm a technical trainer. Been in technology field as long as I could remember, and apart from that, I help in upskilling people, whether it is personal efforts or through official channels. And we recently published a book with about cloud career journey. Some of you may have it, and if you need more information, just ping me on LinkedIn, and we would be happy to talk about it. And the only thing I want to say it here that it may look difficult initially to get started in cloud, and it may be a little challenging that there are so much information. And that's why we thought to start this program called Become a Solutions Architect. Though we focus on solution architect aspect, but it is overall a career guidance program. So even if you feel that you are not looking into specifically solution architect role, but you need career guidance, we should be able to help you out. Not a one-to-one mentoring, hopefully, but probably through a group mentoring session, you can be part of it and then you can get benefited out of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashish. Yeah, I'm Prasad Rao. I'm a
Start.
principal solutions architect at AWS. Yeah, we started BeSA in 2022. It's been a couple of
Yeah.
years now, and this is the fifth batch that we are starting on April 6th. A bit of background about my journey: started my career as a .NET developer, and have been always in the on-prem world of site. Um, and in 2019, I got a call from AWS, and I did not have any clue about cloud or AWS at that point. But during the interview process, I did learn a lot, and then I was able to get into cloud space, and that's when I realized it's not that difficult. Whether you're coming from a technical background or a non-technical background, getting started with cloud might seem daunting, but it's not that difficult. And thankfully there are a lot of materials available, especially in terms of technology. Like, the common feedback that we hear from our mentees is that there is a lot of technical material available. There are very good, really, Udemy courses. There are free YouTube videos that you can use to upskill, get the basics of your IT fundamentals correct, and then move on to get more AWS certified. Common challenge was how to navigate. There are so many paths in a cloud career, so how to navigate that, how to navigate your specific cloud career. And that's when me and Ashish thought, it will be useful if we are able to showcase the journeys of other people who have been able to uh, become successful in their cloud career, like what decisions they have made, what resources they have used, and what roadblocks they have faced, how have they overcome those challenges. And that's where the book Cloud Career Journeys come into picture. We were thinking about starting this BeSA batch very frankly around in January or February, coinciding with the book launch. But as always, we get busy, life happens. But happy that we are able to start the next batch in April 6th. And this batch, we are mainly focusing on certification. As always, it will be focusing both on technical skills and the behavioral skills. But in this batch, what we are planning is that we'll be doing both AWS Cloud Practitioner certification and AWS Solution Architect Associate certification. So the first 4 weeks we'll be focusing on AWS Cloud Practitioner certification, and then remaining 8 weeks we'll be focusing on AWS Solutions Architect Associate certification. Anyone who is a bit further in their cloud journey, like in terms of learning journey, they might feel the first 4 weeks a bit basic because we'll be covering a lot of basics for people to get started who are starting from the scratch. But after that, it will not be a regular this is the EC2 service or this is a XYZ service. We are trying to do it more use case basis. So it will help you actually not only for your certification but also in your real life application jobs, because it will be more use case based approach. Every week we'll be covering, and yeah,
Yeah,
30 minutes of every week we'll be focusing mainly on the behavioral skills. We will be updating the whole agenda very soon in next couple of weeks. Every Thursday, me, Ashish, Parna, and other Amazonians, we brainstorm for an hour about how we should be, like the curriculum that we should be having. And this time we do have a lot of AWS technical trainers whose day job is actually, training the customers, joining us as volunteers. So yeah, looking forward for having this experience with all of you folks.
thank you,
Prasad, I
Prasad.
do have a question for you.
Please.
You like how this works? I'm just jumping ahead of everyone
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that it's actually not that hard to get into AWS or just to the overall cloud journey. But what I'm seeing in the market is that there are so many people who are still connecting with me and they are still interviewing at AWS. And yes, they are freaking out. So, what are some of the best thing that you could share with those that can help them on their technical skill to sharpen up a little bit prior to their on-site? I know some
Sure.
of them are watching right now.
Yeah, no, sure, definitely. And that's a good question. Um, when I say it's not that difficult, it's because we make it harder in our own minds than it is. If we try and simplify in terms of technical, right? In my interview experience, and I interview a lot also. We as Amazonians, we focus 80% on behavioral. So you need to get your story correct. When I say story
Mm.
correct, means think about your past experiences, think about at what level you're applying for, and accordingly frame your stories in terms of star, and the impact should be there. If you're applying for a L7 level, you need to ensure that your impact is worldwide. It all depends upon what level you're applying. In terms of technology, I always say this: there is a way you can respond to your technical questions showcasing your behavioral skills. A very simple question about uh, what is cloud computing or what is DDoS, like, no. And the way you're answering that question, if you just define what is cloud computing, that will be probably a L4 or L5 level. And let's say in that answer, if you start saying that I was talking to a VP of engineering of this particular company and they were struggling to get onto cloud and I was able to explain them, that showcases your behavioral skills also. That showcases that you have been in that situation where you have been able to make those conversations with C-level executives. And that showcases how you have been able to, in the past you have demonstrated the kind of skills we are looking for. So think about the past experiences and then accordingly frame your story. That's what I would say. In terms of technical depth, you should be having a technical depth, but do not worry about that you should be knowing about each and everything. If there is anything specific that you do not know about, be very open that I don't know about this, and that is how you're going to earn the trust of the interviewer rather than saying something random which would be wrong and then you would be losing the trust.
I actually have another question if you don't mind.
Yeah, please go ahead, Holly.
So I'm prepared for you guys, as you can see, since 3 o'clock in the morning, an hour ago. No, that is because we're supposed to have daylight saving at
Yeah.
midnight today, but that hasn't changed. As a former ex-Amazonian, you do not want to be late to any of your meetings. If you
Exactly.
do, they will start without you. So I was reading through my message and I realized that a lot of folks are going through the phone screen stage right now. One of the role, actually, ironically, the only role that I did not field as a recruiter or as a talent leader during my time at Amazon is solution architect. So when it comes to the technical or just in general phone interview with the hiring manager or the level 7 or a peers, what should one really prepare in? And I'm going to assume that there has to be some type of technical questions for technical roles.
Yes. So there, depending upon solutions architect has multiple roles. Like it's a generic solutions architect or a specialist solutions architect. The difference is, as a generic solutions architect, you try and help your customers on almost, depending upon what their requirements is. As a specialist solutions architect, you can be a networking specialist solutions architect. You can be a security specialist solutions architect. That's where we go more into depth. I interviewed for a Microsoft workload specialist solutions architect. Right? So for me, the main questions were the role was about migrating and modernizing .NET applications on AWS. I was very candid about I don't know much about AWS. I know a lot about the source part of it,
Mhm.
Microsoft workloads. So the questions for me that was asked to test my understanding about the .NET applications, right? What I have done in the past, what are the common like .NET applications, what are the common migration or modernization strategies of those, more about application development. But when you talk about solutions architect role in general, one question that I like to ask is about talk about a three-tier web architecture. I give a scenario in which they need to come up with a three-tier web architecture if they are aware of AWS. If not, then they can come up with three-tier architecture in any other cloud provider that they have experience with, or even in the on-prem world. And that's when I start dive deep into, okay, you talked about your presentation layer, you talked about your application layer, you talked about your database layer, and you have a, let's say, a website that is able to handle 10,000 users per day. And now there is a peak coming. Let's say you have a ticketing system. Your website is a three-tier website is actually helping your customers to book tickets on your website. Let's say a ticket master kind of stuff. And you got a contract to host a Taylor Swift uh, concert.
There we go. Taylor Swift is coming back.
Okay. And then you know that the moment the ticket is, the slot is going to open, you're going to have a million requests. How are you going to scale your website to that level of traffic? What changes are you going to make your architecture? And it's not that you're going to do it right now at that time, but we as interviewers would like to understand the thought process behind it. That how are you thinking about each of the layers? How are you going to ensure that it scales as per the requirement? And then we start discussion. It's an open discussion that happens, and during that discussion we get to know the level of experience the candidate has.
Good
Want to
answer.
add one more thing there, like in technical interviews, probably there are right and wrong answers. Like if you ask me that, hey, this service works in XYZ manner or not, so you may say yes or no, but don't stick to those yes and no type of answers. We are not looking for that. We are looking for more elaborative answer. When you are looking for a role of a solution architect, this person should be able to go means even if the question is small, he or she should be able to dig further beyond the question. Like, what is the intention of that question being asked? Why somebody would be asking that question? What business reason could be behind it? So, just answering yes and no, or maybe giving a close-ended answer would not help. Probably would be to push your answer in such a manner that the interviewer get interested into asking additional question what you want them to ask for. Let's say I said, okay, I have done three-tier architecture and I have worked in this situation and XYZ happened and then we scaled it. So probably I am pushing that interviewer into the direction of asking about how I implemented XYZ, which I already know. So sometimes you need to manage things, and technical interviews are complicated because they may ask you a number of things. But our intention when we do technical interview is not to bring down anyone. Like, hey, if you say I do not know XYZ, I will not be talking about XYZ because I know you do not know it. So
Mhm.
it's okay to tell what you do not know, but what you tell that I know, hopefully you should be able to answer most questions on that, if not all.
And that's a great point, Ashish, actually. So we sometimes try and ask questions which are open-ended. Uh, like, for example, one of the question that is quite common is, if you to suggest what database you would for a specific company, They are starting a new project, and you need to set, as a solutions architect, you need to suggest a database. What database would you suggest? And that's a open-ended question. You need to understand a lot of requirements for that. But what is the application, what is the application use case, what is the data access pattern, before you can think about whether you should be going for a relational database or a non-relational database. And even if it is a non-relational database, you need to start thinking about parameters, like whether you would need a document database or a key value database. And you need to ask those probing questions to the interviewer. The interviewer would be able to help you with few suggestions or assumptions, or the interviewer might say that start
Hmm.
assumptions. And then you need to say that, okay, assuming that the application is this is will be the right database, but in case if the requirement is this will be the right database. And that's where you can start showcasing your technical expertise, that in case if your application requires asset properties, you will go for probably a relational database. If you want a base properties, and technical folks will be able to understand what a asset or a base is. And then even in base, you might go into cap theorem, talking about which all specific parameters you need, and accordingly you give a database. And when you try and answer like these, your interviewer might say, okay, you talked about base, let's dissect it, and they might ask more questions. But be ensured that when you say those acronyms, you know about them and you're able to answer those type of questions. So do that preparation well.
Great.
That's funny.
So
Don't
I was
talk
just
about things
looking
that you
at,
don't know.
yeah. So I was just looking at the chat. I think a lot of people have questions related to what kind of behavioral skills also you have, and probably Holly, you can add to that. And also, a lot of women approach me, especially who are restarters. They have done their certifications, but getting to the interview stage is the problem because they don't get shortlisted. So if three of you could
Yeah.
share some tips,
So
how can
probably
they get
Holly
to the
should
interview?
be
Yeah,
exactly. So Holly, this is a common question we get, and hopefully that you could answer it. That hey, I done certification, but I'm not getting interviews. Is it something missing in my job resume? Am I not approaching right people? Do I do not have built proper network? What it could be.
yeah.
I knew I needed a third cup of coffee before this. I'm just kidding. I get something similar too, but not on the certification thing. Here's the thing: when you get your certification, you're gonna land an interview, right? Because what employer are not excited that you went above and beyond to get the certification of their organization? But here's the problem: once you get the certification, did you actually practice on the technology that you've learned, right? You don't always need to have hands-on experience. Um, Prasad, you made a really good point earlier. It's not so much what you say, what your experiences are, but what are other relevant experiences can you bring on the table, and then come back in and say, by the way, I'm also a AWS solution architect cert, whatever cert you have. That's excellent. And by the way, why are you only getting one certification? Why are you not getting multiple one? Because our friend who has how many now? 100 certifications, you know, he went crazy. There's so many people who are not Amazonian, but they are a big fan of the infrastructure, the cloud infrastructure, and they keep on going because every single quarter or every single month, technology changes, right? So I think that the important thing to keep in mind is it's great that you put the effort, the money, the time spent on getting certifications, but what's next for you? Do you know what you want? And don't forget, those questions are still there. Why do you want to work for the employer? What is so significant about this project that you can bring on the table, right? That's the number one way that a lot of people are still failing this interview because they don't think about that. They just get so excited and then anxiety kicked in, meaning, oh my God, Holly, I failed my interview 2 times, 3 times, 15 times even, but I'm so excited. I'm re-interviewing. And a big part of my job is to pause and stop them. I know that one of them is in the live chat right now. I have to stop them and say, do you really want to go through another phone screen when you've been through the same role, the same level, and you fell it 3 times? Do you really want to go through that again? What are you doing differently to prepare this time?
Right.
Certification, great. What are you doing with it? What did you learn from it? Right?
Very true. I do get this question a lot. I'm qualified,
Yeah.
but not getting a job opportunity. See, there is no sure short way to get a job opportunity. But this is what we have covered in depth in the book by different people's experience, and I'm going to talk about few people experiences here. One is definitely Parna, and I know Parna would have shared this before also. But play on your strengths. Parna was certified and she was applying for solution architect role. But probably it was not, she got the feedback that her background is from the teaching. So why don't you use your strengths? And that's how she was able to get as a technical trainer. But getting that first job is never easy. And that's where, if you read the story of Daniel, he was coming from a completely non-technical background, and he got like all the three associate certifications, and he thought, now jobs should be coming to me because I am certified. But that doesn't happen. He applied for 300 jobs, but he did not get a interview. He changed the strategy. He started building in public, and this is one thing that I tell everyone: when you are learning, learn in public. And as Holly said, do practice. There is another question that I can see is that how can I mitigate on job experience, do the projects? There are a lot of free workshops available that you can do. A 12 weeks workshop is one way to you can do, or go to workshops at AWS, and you would be able to create your own portfolio where you will be able to showcase. And while you are doing that, do it in public. Like this has been done by Daniel, Ifyani, and numerous others. Whatever small thing that they learn, they share. Even if it's a hello world Python program, they share. And like it happened with Ifyani, when he was sharing, people started reaching out to him saying that, can you mentor me? And Ifyani was like, I'm still learning. This is the first cloud thing that I'm doing. How can I mentor? But you will be surprised by the kind of support you will get from the community on LinkedIn. For both Daniel and Ifyani, when they did this, build in public consistently, they used to share whatever they are learning. The CEOs of companies reached out to them, and both of them got jobs just because of their LinkedIn presence, the way they have been able to share their knowledge, what they're learning. When you're learning in silos, no one knows about it, and you'll keep sharing your resumes with people, and it'll be difficult. But when you're putting out there and you're connecting with people in the industry, it'll help you them find you automatically. So what if you read Daniel's story, one other thing that he did was he reached out to one of the LinkedIn influencer and told her that, I'm looking for a job, will you be able to share my job profile? And she was very kind enough, she did that. And once she shared Daniel's job profile with her network, there are a lot of exposure she got. And one of the CEO of a company looked at that post and reached out to Daniel, put into the interview process. He was able to uh, go through the interview and get the job. So that's what I would say. If you're struggling to get that first break, build in public, share your knowledge with others, and try and network as much as possible.
So I'm just, talking on behalf of all the women, because I know what busy lives women have, especially if they are
Yeah.
mothers and wives, and they really don't have the time to do, too much of networking and all. So, Holly, what would you recommend for women like that? Because I get a lot of questions from such women. I just don't have the time to do that, public learning, and I'm barely able to finish my certification, and I'm desperately looking for a job. So, what would you tell them?
Well, you're picking on the right person. I mentioned earlier that I actually haven't slept yet. I don't know if you noticed the backs of my eyes. Anytime when I
Same
feel
here.
excited, I'm passionate about something, I can care less what time it is. If you're telling me, Holly, I need you to do this 5 days a week, you need to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I will do it because I'm passionate about the topic, the people, and the engagement. I guess the question I need to ask all of the ladies is, even single dads, right? How badly do you want this? Um, Prasad, you mentioned earlier that it's not hard. It isn't. And I shouldn't say that as a coach. Nobody would come to me. It isn't. The process is easy. I say that because I actually practice what I preach. There are so many free materials out there, endless. Doesn't matter what role you're in, what level you're in. You need the level of patience and you need to create time. For once, I know it's really tiring as a single mother. I know, I hear it. I've been a single mom since birth of my 6-year-old son now. And then I decided to do what? I quit my job. I started my own career journey as a career coach and a YouTube channel and a blogger. And I also write for Forbes as well. And I do a lot of interviews like this every single week now. I'm doing a lot of interviews is because I need to get up here where I need it to be. So, and my son at the moment is sleeping at 4:30 in the morning. So you need to really make time. Just like I run a coaching program, and most of everybody is parents, right? It's funny because when they show up in my Zoom office hour and we do mock interview, and I do call them out, and I said, listen, sometimes I feel like you're paying me so that I could remind you and hold you accountable. You have an interview coming up. Where's your story? Let's review them. Why are we doing mock interview when you haven't written anything down? You're wasting your time, right? So a lot of resources is out there, but you have to really force yourself to carve the effort to put in it. Do not think that, Holly, I can't, I'm not ready. I'm going to take this interview. If I don't interview, Amazon's going to hire. I get that all day long, guys. All day long, never fell. And as as ironic that I shouldn't be doing, I push away a lot of those customers because I know I can't help them. Right. So I guess the first thing to do is before you even apply to any job or take any opportunity, try to figure a way to build your confidence. Because if your confidence isn't there, no one can help you.
Right. And I think when it comes to confidence, I think what some of the women tend to uh, they feel scared to approach mentors, or they don't really feel confident networking. And I generally tell them go for meetups, go to community day,
Hmm.
and start that way. Start small. You don't really need to go onto LinkedIn and say hello and wait for somebody to respond. How do you think they should approach that? Because that's another thing. So they know they need to network but just don't know how to start. So how should they go about that?
I'm very passionate with building rapport and relationship. Like you guys are an example, right? When you guys build relationship, don't think about that's a hiring manager, that person. I want to work for that company. I want to work. No, none of that. When you build relationship, you have to ask yourself, what am I offering for them, adding value? Don't think that you don't know.
Prasad
Ladies
said
and
this.
gentlemen, I see
Yeah.
both. I'm not biased. I see ladies and gentlemen here. Okay, don't think just because you've been laid off. I get it, and you have nothing to offer someone. You always have something to offer. You are filling that open head count for that future hiring manager so they can keep their job. Okay. So
Right.
when you reach out to someone, be very mindful, very thoughtful. Don't spam them. Don't ask them for a job. Simply just tell them the first sentence. Why are you reaching out? What about the credential pop for you? Why? Because if you reach out to me to say, hey, can you help me? Can you refer me to Amazon? Which I get that a lot. I'm never going to respond to you. I have no clue who you are,
Right.
right?
Right.
Uh, so you have to be very intentional and mindful of what you're getting. And please, for the love of God, do some research on the person.
True.
Yeah,
Don't
do
go
your
blind.
homework. It's always important before reaching out to anyone or just saying a hi. Uh, Especially people are busy and they are getting a lot of. So if you are thinking someone you want to, reaching out to someone whom you would like to be your mentor, there'll be a lot of people like you who are thinking the same thing. There'll be a lot of people who will be reaching out in a similar manner that you are doing, like hi. What will make you stand out, right? What is that
Hmm.
unique value that you are bringing, and how is that going to help your mentor before the mentor thinks about, okay, you should be doing this, right? So think about that really. I do mentor a lot based on the bandwidth, and there are few people who like kind of stick when I think, okay, now I have time for another, take on another mentor, a mentee, right? I If there is someone who has interacted with me really well, it sticks to me, and I'll try and find that person and reach out to them, that how are they doing, last time when we spoke you had this goal, now how is it going? So think through about what your ask is, and then accordingly approach.
Hmm.
Makes sense. Yeah, I agree on that. And To extend on that networking part, but I agree it's difficult. Not everyone is as open as going into event and attending this and that. But I think in digital world it is much easier. You may not want to talk to that person directly
Yeah,
initially. Just click on like on their post. Just push a button on LinkedIn which says
yeah,
repost. You do not need to do anything. It is just a button. And once you start doing it on regular basis, or at least read it through the post, shout out what you liked about it, tell this, give them some feedback, and everyone is open to feedback. I would say 90% of the people are open to feedback, and if they get genuine feedback, obviously they will remember. And this is how networking is built. You think you will wake up one day and you will have 10,000 follower? It doesn't happen. What value you are bringing in, what you have to give to others also. So that's, it is a two-way relationship. So start by just clicking like or put a comment, repost their things. That should help.
Yep.
Initially it would be a little hard, but then you will get used to it. And don't just click like, read it. If you like it, it's actually
definitely.
worth it, then do
That's
it. It
one
is
thing I was
not a
going to say.
Don't
monotonous
put a
job.
heart
Exactly.
emotion. Really mean it.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell
It's
them
not a
why.
robot
Yeah,
who is clicking. So read it. You find value. You highlight a value from that and say, yeah, I like this part of this post. So yeah, that's a win-win.
I
What's
totally
a
agree because when I was also, I'm sorry, I'll just finish that. So when I was engaging with a few posts, I realized that when I made a comment and I actually read that article and mentioned something within that article, the chances of the person responding back to me was more. So obviously, definitely read it, the article or the post, and if you give some kind of insights in your comments, like, I liked so and so, or you add something, the chances that they'll come back to you. I remember Prasad had mentioned once in one of his posts that one of his mentees constantly engaged with his posts, and that's how he started the interaction. Because that's the same thing, it's just not one like, you have to consistently go back and forth, and then the chances of interacting is more. Yeah, so I
Obviously, that's
definitely
very
believe
well said.
that's,
Very well said, Parna. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
And you tend to
one of
remember,
the
recollect that
yes,
person, right?
for
Because
continuous
Mhm.
10 posts, there was a, like for the same person, there was a very meaningful comment and asking a very insightful question on top of what I have shared. And I
right.
kept responding. And then one fine day, I get a DM, like message about a follow up thing. There is no way I can ignore because I know that person by now, and there at least for 10 times I responded to her on the post. So out of the like 50, 60 LinkedIn messages I get, when I see a message from that particular person, I need to respond back. Right. So in that way, it works really well to make that connection before you say hi.
Mhm. Yeah.
Cool.
I was going to say one of the things that, for a starter, it's really uncomfortable to reach out to a random stranger, especially
Hmm.
when you're affected by the recession and you're trying to get your foot in the door. That's even worse, right? The anxiety kicks in, all of that. This is going to sound very weird to a lot of you guys, but in my weekly group coaching, one of the things that I do tell my folks is that when you're reaching out to land, I shouldn't say land job anyway, to network, try something different. You gotta put yourself in Prasad and Ashish and everyone's position, right? They're sitting there. They have a lot of people reaching out. This is going to make them have a lot of people reaching out to them, right? Because they're live right now. So how are you going to stand out? Um, the best thing that I would ask for you to do is try something that is not traditional. Here's my mobile phone. You go to the front camera and do a short, quick 20-second video and send it to them. Very simple. Introduce yourself. Still, tell them why you wanted to connect with them. Mention the BASA program. What did you like about today's talk? What questions do you have? And that's how you know if they've clicked on it or not. If they clicked on it, they have to respond to you because you're asking them a question, right? So if you're afraid to type a message and you know that a lot of people are going to the same way, why don't you try something different?
Yeah,
Agree.
totally agree.
So, do
I
video
want to.
profiles really work? Because even I had read it somewhere, though I didn't do that, Holly. So, um, is it better to do a video one, or I know people are shy. Even I am quite shy about video, and people prefer writing like a cover letter. So,
Well,
but
you're talking to a YouTuber to begin with. I'm all about video. But on a serious note, a video will generate more engagement than just typing. Okay. Because
Yep.
message is the first thing that everyone teaches. All the coaches, LinkedIn teach you to have the right content to reach out when you network, but nobody talks about video. And then we
right.
have all the AI stuff that's coming up, all the
Yep.
automation. But what about the video, right? Just be a little bit non traditional. And another point is people connect very well when you do things differently. Um, I like to tell people to think very deep and go put a lot of thought and creativity. For example, I wish I could show you guys, but I can't. Um, one of my client loves skiing. Right, we were just talking, and I review some of the video messages before they send it for networking, high level folks. And I said, "Oh my God, this is a director." I said, "Wow, that's really awesome. How often do you go up on the gondola?" And he said, "Pretty often. This is snow season. Great. I want to see your networking video, 3 of them when you're on the gondola, you're talking, just put on your iPhone headset." And he did it and he sent it. And he got a response. And yes, he got an interview just like that. I have another client. She had she went to Carnegie Mellon, true story, by the way, could not for the life of her land a single interview at all. Working in financial sector as a product manager for 8 years. And I said, "What do you like to do?" She said, "I'm on my treadmill every day. I love to work out. I love to ride my bike." Great. So the next time when you are walking on your treadmill desk, I want you to record yourself. What do you want to tell this person at PayPal? Why should you work for the payment services? Because you're in finance, right? She did that. And this person were able to land every single job interview. Because when you send someone a video, I
That's
don't know
amazing.
if the folks notice that. The thumbnail meaning that whatever is showing on the video, it shows up. Well, she's her and the treadmill. Of course, they're going to click on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good trick. And yeah, I mean, it's so easy, and you could see the face behind the word that makes this connection
Hmm.
strong. So yeah, obviously that stands out also because not everyone is following the same approach. So if it stands out, obviously this is something interesting. Great.
Don't be shy. You're competing
Yeah,
with a
that's
lot of
the
people
thing.
for the same
It
job.
may not happen overnight. You may need to try, and don't. I would also add it here, there would always be a room for improvement. So I don't think that your first video would be as good as that you would have created after 3 years, right? So, but if you do not create that first video, you will not get the best thing out. So Steven Spielberg obviously would not have created the best movie with the first movie itself. It took him time to reach up to that point. So you have to start somewhere. So even if it is not that great, if you feel, still start with it. That's important.
Hmm.
I want to pick
Yeah.
up some questions from the chat now so that we can elaborate on those questions. First one is from Namrata that says, "Do we have to put a project on resume? Is it necessary?" I'll let Prasad answer this one.
Depending upon what experience you have, Namrata, right? Number of years experience you have, what hands-on project that you're working on currently in your current organization, if you're currently working, and what is the role you're targeting for, right? It's, as always, answer is it depends. Having said that, it's always a good thing to have, right? It's, there is no harm in having it. Is it mandatory? No. But is it helpful? Definitely. So if you have any, like hands-on projects experience, even if it is not current company, or even if you do it as a side thing that you have learned, try and put those in a separate section, and it will help you for sure. Because see, as an interviewer, I try and see what the person has worked on and ask questions on that. So the more information you'll be able to provide, doesn't mean that give a 10-page resume to me, right? Give me all the information in 1 or 2 page resume. And and if I see a specific project that you have worked on, it might be as simple as creating a static website on S3. Then I'll be intrigued about saying that, okay, you have just hosted some website on S3, or have you tried and understand all the different functionalities that a S3 can provide? Do you understand what levels of security we can go into? How have you secured your website? So on and so forth. So any hands-on project that you have given, it gives you interviewer think about this. It helps you to channelize your interview the way you would like, instead
Exactly.
of being a open-ended, right? And that's why I always say your resume and your intro, like first 2 minutes that you speak, really helps. What's this happening? This is a Apple thing, right? That when we do something, it starts that. So someone showed
That's
me
right.
this. I'm not sure if you folks have seen that,
I
but
was like wondering.
I've seen that. Yeah, it happens.
yeah,
Oh,
Wow.
oh,
it starts that.
The party is starting
You,
up in here.
yeah, you need to be careful now on the video. Yeah, the resume and your intro part, it really helpful to channelize the way you would like your interview to happen. During your first 2 minutes of uh, intro, don't start talking about, or obviously we'll talk about your experience, but think about what you would like the interviewer to pick up and ask questions on, and talk about those things. It'll really help you. Nutshell, it's not mandatory, it's always helpful to highlight your projects in your resume.
Yep.
Nice.
so I have one question like for three of you. So a lot of, even I used to do that. I had like one resume which I used to like broadcast for every job, but I know that doesn't work because you have to curate it for
Hmm.
every job, right? So I just wanted to know about that. So how do you do that? I mean, do you look out for keywords in the job description? How do you curate your resume for every job?
I think if you are a solution architect, for example, is dead on your and you're architect, so that's one resume. But if
Mm,
you are somebody like me, if I wanted to work for Amazon again, if I wanted to be a recruiting leader, I would need my resume to be focused on recruiting. Even as a coach, I would need to focus on client engagement on a stakeholder executive level. So I would have to change my verbiage to be
mm,
recruiting friendly, right? So the question to you guys is, I also get a lot of dev manager that wants to be TPM, or dev manager wanted to be product. They just don't want to do the coding part anymore, or vice versa. Then you would need two
mm.
complete different CV. But if you're interested in different industry and you want to stay in tech, I would just use one. That's my advice, because you don't want to be all over the
Okay.
place. Imagine applying to the same company,
Mm.
multiple resume, and is landed on the recruiter, the hiring
Right.
manager. You will turn them off.
Uh,
That means you don't know what you
right.
want.
Right. And
Agree on that.
similar lines, if you are going from a non-tech, because I know a lot of women are trying to move to tech. So if they have everything about non-tech on their resume, but they are applying for the first time for a tech job, so how should they go about that? I mean, they are doing certification, things like that, but obviously their previous work experiences in non-tech. So what would you recommend to them? How should they approach jobs? Any tips
I
with
think
that?
before they go ahead, Passat.
No, no, go ahead, Hari.
I'm not hijacking. Go ahead, Passat.
Okay, so Aparna, the question is how are non-tech people can approach a tech job? Is that the question?
Right. Yes. And they've done their homework. They are doing certifications, projects, and all, but then they have nothing to show because they are, I mean, they have, but not in the work experience section, right? Which is the main um, section of the resume.
And
How should they approach?
so it's not easy, very frankly, but it's
Mm,
not impossible. And again, we have numerous examples for that. And here I would like to again give example of from the book itself. Daniel uh, did not have any tech background. Ifyani did not have any tech background. Jamila did not have any tech background. And if you see all of them, right, there's a very consistent pattern. Obviously, they have learned on their own. There is no replacement to that, right? You need to learn a few things, at least get the basics right, because when people from non-tech background start, they probably don't even understand what a IP address is or what a subnetting is. You need
mm,
to get those basics right. Once you have those basics, that's when you start playing on your strengths, right? uh, like Daniel was very, if you read his story and while we were interacting with him, even now when we talk with him, he talks about the consulting skills. He says that I have gained technical skills over the time, but before that, Daniel has worked as a bartender and as a Uber driver. He has a very good customer facing skills, and that's what he brings it on the table when he goes into it. So he did not go into a developer role. he went into a more client-facing cloud engineer role or a cloud solutions architect role, right? So think about what you're bringing it on your table apart from the tech skills, right? For Jamila, it's a very interesting story. She is an economics graduate and she like learned English after coming to London, and how she was able to transition from there into a technical role is obviously learning few things about. She started learning about data science and how to use data to get into more technical roles. But then when she got to know about AWS, how she has started diving deep into AWS and getting the help of the colleagues along with she was working, or because she was in a desk kind of uh, job, doing more support work rather than doing any specific technical work. But with that curiosity, she tried and helped others who was doing those technical works and started learning from them, and that's how she was able to make that switch.
Right. I think you have to be flexible as well, because I think after doing certifications, that's what most people think, I'm just going to go and become a solution architect. But like, as you said, you need to leverage the strengths that you have exist, like you said, customer facing. So probably go into a support role and then move horizontally, right?
Yes,
That's
definitely.
a great
Like
tip.
you'll not be able to be choosy, very frankly. It's,
Yeah.
get the kind of job, even if it is remotely technical, right? And then you would be able to make that way in. If you read like Ryan Kurenberg's story, it's amazing. He was a lawyer, and from that he came into tech and he like founded A Cloud Guru. But his
Hmm.
first technical job was a support job where he was trying to like fix Blackberries and those kinds of. That was his first technical job. It's, it's not a proper technical job also. But then he joined a night school to learn about tech, and that's how he slowly made into the whole tech and the cloud world. So it takes time,
Right.
it requires effort. And, and this is where, I do say that, things are easy, but this is place where it will not be easy for you. The initial struggle, it will be a struggle,
Right.
and at times you feel like, giving up. But that's when, like, you if you keep on going, you will be able to see the light at the end of the day, definitely.
Yeah, and somebody's going to notice your potential, right? So they're going to
Yeah,
see that spark in you, and probably,
yeah.
I think, yeah. So, yeah,
Holly
bye to
seems
Holly.
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
Holly has some his cough is acting up. That's why she had to drop. We'll have a couple of more minutes. I'll pick up some
Yeah,
questions from here, and obviously we have some return guests. So good to see you, Pawan here. Balwinder
yeah,
Kaur is
Pavan,
here, so it's
Purnima,
good to see you again. It's been a
Balvinder,
long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Purnima
I'm not
Menon
sure,
is
like,
here.
is there a way we can share the link with them so that, I would like to get them on the camera if possible, the long time BeSA members.
We Prasad, we have little time limitation. I would
Oh,
like
yeah.
some questions to be
Yeah.
answered here.
Sure.
So, considering a Women's Day special, what advice do you have for women when reaching out to strangers on LinkedIn? What word of caution would you suggest to their vulnerability is not abused? Parna, I'll let you
Uh,
handle this question.
to reaching out to strangers. So, are you reaching out, or
Yeah,
are
means
the
considering
strangers
that
reaching out?
I'm a woman and I want to reach out to someone, and obviously, being a woman, you are reaching out to a stranger, so that you obviously
Right.
don't want to be get vulnerability abused in that manner. So I'll let you handle it rather
Mm,
than me or Prasad answering it. I have no clue on that.
so, it's not that I approach a person just by first time looking at their post and getting impressed. I follow them over a period of month, and you gauge their personality over time, right?
Yeah,
So I would say wait. Just because you just saw somebody's great tagline, you should not just jump in and get in touch with them. Wait for a while, gauge them, engage with their posts, and then over time, I think you will have some better understanding. But don't jump on the first instance when you see a very flashy tagline. That's what I would do. I would wait for some time.
makes
And
sense. Makes sense.
keep it completely professional. I would say do not share personal details. That's a word of caution. Do not share your phone numbers or anything. Start with conversation on LinkedIn, and you need not share any other phone numbers, Gmail, or anything. After a little bit of conversation, when you get that trust. Then later on, maybe you can use some platforms where you don't need to share too much details. I would suggest to going about that way.
Makes sense. Few more
And
questions I want to highlight here. One was related to Prasad, so I'll highlight it here. This is from Pawan, that how you are making consistent post on LinkedIn.
Oh man, it's never easy, very frankly. What has worked for me is that if there are days when I'm able to, on a Tuesday morning, I feel that, I have 1 hour. Okay, so let me create a LinkedIn post, right? But generally, it doesn't. It's not the case. You generally we get busy with our lives and work and stuff. What has worked for me, and frankly, I have not been the most consistent person. If you see, like last 1 week, I've not been able to post just because I did not have bandwidth to create any post. People I've seen, and in the past, when I have been consistent, like posting 2 times or 3 times in a week, it has all been created mostly in bulk. And when I say in bulk, I remember last year when I was in India, mm, and I had some, like spare time, and I was able to create posts for 3 months, and I scheduled them all. LinkedIn just provides us, like feature about scheduling posts. So see if you can create posts in bulk and schedule them all. And creating for 3 months, that was an extreme thing. That's a, like that's the one of the best thing that I have been able to do, or the maximum longest period I've been able to do. Otherwise, generally I try and create posts in bulk for a week or two. Like on a weekend, I'll think about topics for three, like posts, and I'll create those three posts and schedule it for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I don't think about it much. If I have time, I create posts, like 4 or 5 posts, and schedule it for next 2 weeks, and then I forget. But then there are times when something comes up and you need to share it with the audience. Like for example, I remember there was a women networking event happening here, and when I got to know, I was like, I cannot wait for the time when I will have bandwidth. So in those cases, like I generally go to that women event networking website where the registration form was, copy couple of lines from there, rehash it, and then post it. And do not use AI. I use Claude, very frankly. Use AI to your advantage, and ensure that they are natural sounding. When you need to. So there's a phrase, right, in Hindi, nakal ke liye bhi akal chahiye hoti hai. It
Uh,
translates to, you need to be a smart person to cheat. So see, AI is not cheating. I would say AI is, use AI, but ensure that you give it. So prompt engineering is really important, and if you are not aware of prompt engineering, read more about prompt engineering, how you will be able to tune your assistant, whether it is you use chat gpt, whether you use Claude, whether you use Hugging Face, whether you use Perplexity, it doesn't matter. How you are able to use your prompt engineering to tune so that when it gives you a response, it seems like you are the one who is, make sure that you are authentic when you are posting something. And there will be some, AI can be a productivity booster, so use that, but you need to ensure that you are spending some time. And that time can be on a weekday if you can consistently block 1 hour for that, which I'm not able to do. So I generally try and use my weekends to create few posts and schedule it.
Makes sense. And I'm trying to pick up another question which is on the similar line, and that is about that how relevant is your programming skill now when ChatGPT is around?
The world is divided.
still very
I Yeah, world is
Yeah, I mean,
divided on this. I know,
exactly.
especially after Nvidia CEO said that we should be thinking more about AI and less about programming skills. But I probably kind of disagree. It's kind of a, think about this. AI is there, but you still learn how to speak and write, right? It's a language. You cannot be always grammatically wrong thinking that AI would correct your grammar while you are writing. AI is going to do that. Obviously, you give it any
yeah.
sentence with a very bad grammar, it is going to spit you out a right grammar. But does that mean that we'll tell our, like a younger generation that, don't worry about grammar at all? AI is going to do it for you. Similarly, I would say that you should be knowing the
Yeah.
basic programming. I'm not saying that you should be expert in programming, right? But very frankly, if you're expert in programming, you will be highest paid, hands down. Even, whoever writes these, like AIs, think about people who are using AIs, what their pay structure would be versus who are programming to create these AI programs. If you're expert in programming, you will be the highest paid, hands down. But even if you are not, having some level of knowledge is useful. Is it mandatory? No. People survive without programming very well. Why not? Right? But having it will always be good. That's my viewpoint.
Yeah, and I think because syntactically it might help you, but you still have to use your human logic, right? You will have some business use cases. It can't do the entire thing for you. Obviously, your productivity will increase. What you would have taken 4 hours and you would have looked at of 10 different places and says look at Stack Overflow, look at Google, look at GitHub, or wherever you get help from. Here you have your syntax ready and you still have to do the logic, right? So programming is not only writing code, it's about thinking as well. So definitely that's still going to be relevant, I feel. Of course you should use tools, and if you've heard about tools like Code Whisperer and Amazon Q, they are immensely helpful. And I do recommend them in the courses that I take up also for developing. But yes, it's not going anywhere. You still need to do your basics, like Prasad said.
I
So
agree on that. Means AI can be an augmentation of your skill, but it cannot be a replacement of your skill. That's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. I'll take one last question in the interest of time. Already we are 2 minutes on that, and this is on the same manifestation, but now it is very specific to SA role. And how important is programming experience for AWS solution architect role or interview?
Again, it depends upon the role.
The
If it's a
specific role, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
if it's an infrastructure solutions architect, then probably not. If it is a more developer focused solutions architect, it might be. So think about cloud as a very vast space, right? There will be people who will be developing applications on cloud. There will be people who will be ensuring that the cloud infrastructure is managed correctly, depending upon which role you're going. Having said that, some level of scripting knowledge would really be helpful, right? Even if, because see, even for the infrastructure, it's all going infra as a code. And when I say code there, that doesn't mean you need to have Java or .NET, but having knowledge of Terraform, for example, or simple scripting languages is going to be helpful.
I
and
agree
I
on
feel you
that.
Ashish, do you
should
want to add anything for
understand
that?
code.
Yep.
Yeah, and I feel you need to understand code more than anything. Even if you're not literally, like somebody tells you and you, even I can't, if somebody just gives me a thing, I cannot instantly start writing code. But you should have the ability, I think, to read code and understand it. That's very important, I think, in any technical role. Yeah, Ashish.
And with all the tools available, I don't think anyone ever starts from scratch. Like you do not start from this is my first, I'm defining this variable and this is how I'm starting my program and this is the comment. There are always like lot of template or frameworks available which you can just use to get started with. So you don't have to start everything from scratch. Start with simple like, hey, I did this one thing into a cloud interface. How can I run a command for that? Initially start with learning commands, then those command you would understand the logic behind the command, and then you can start putting it into programming patterns also. So you do not have to write everything from scratch. Take a snippet, customize it as per your own requirement, and then move forward from there. So you don't have to be a hardcore programmer, but yeah, anything in understanding logic is more important. Okay. So I think that sums up what we had as a time. Obviously, not time for everyone's question, and we are happy to answer this question. If you know BeSA channel, BeSA LinkedIn group, feel free to put the information there. Would be happy to answer there, and our batch is starting from 6th April. We would publish more details there. There are more people on board this time to help us as volunteer. So probably we should be able to get you the most out of this particular batch. And obviously, it is not a one-way traffic. If you have any suggestions, we can improve on the sessions or the overall career guidance. Let us know. If we are not able to respond to every question, that doesn't mean we want to ignore it, but obviously we all get 24 hours to manage our day and all the stuff. So don't be disheartened, reach out another time, maybe give us another nudge, and we'll try to help you out as much as we can. Thank you so much, and we'll hope to see you into BeSA batch next time. Thank you, Parna, for hosting it, and all the best to everyone who joined. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Ashish,
everyone.
Prasad,
It
and
was a pleasure.
thanks everyone. Bye. See you in Besa
Bye.
in
See
April.
you.
Bye.